Hello everyone, welcome back to another clip here on Play on GAA. This one here is a clip from my appearance on GAA Fan TV with Aaron Prendergast on Sunday night, where we reviewed all of the club action from the weekend. This clip is a review of both of the Dublin Football Championship Semi Finals of 2022 between Ballyboden St Enda's and Fianna and Kilmacud Crokes and Thomas Davis. To watch the full podcast, check out GAA Fan TV. Now enjoy the clip.
Obviously both from Dublin and certainly both more familiar with both sides, with both games that were on display at the weekend. It was the Fianna 114, Ballyboden St Enda's 7 points. I was saying to you off air, I mean, this was a bizarre game in many ways because Ballyboden St Enda's didn't score until injury time of the first half. They barely any chances, just didn't look involved at all. At one stage, it was 10 points to nil in favour of Fianna. Like, just an absolute mad game. Fair play to Fianna, and for Ballyboden, like, just another bizarre result that we've seen far too often from them in the last few years.
Yeah, like, they're such a weird team in the sense that you look at their team on paper. Okay, they were missing Robbie McDade, they were missing Ryan Basquel, they were missing Aaron Waters. But you still look at the team, they've got Michael Darmacawley there at midfield. They've got Colin Basquel at centre forward. They got Ross McGarry in the inside forward line. They've got players of the calibre of Conor Keeney and all on the bench. To go 32 minutes without scoring in a club semi-final at that level, you've absolutely no complaints. You do not deserve to win that game. I think Fianna do deserve credit for their part as well. I thought they got the matchup spot on. I thought Owen O'Dea, Owen Merchant, Johnny Cooper, I thought the three of them were magnificent. In particular, I really like Alistair Fitzgerald as well at right half back. He was really good against us in the quarterfinal. And then, of course, Adam Rafter as well, Dublin under-20 fullback, and he's shown that he is more than comfortable playing in the half-back line as well. So they deserve credit, but Ballyboden were shocking going forward. They're absolutely terrible. They looked so out of ideas. And the fact that their only point in that first half was a Colin Basquel free. They didn't score a point from playing the first half. And I mean, you can have no complaints about losing a game, but you said it yourself. We've seen this far too often from Bowden that, last year they went out so tamely to Kilmacud in the semi-final. The year before they got to the final against Ballymun Kickham's, and then they just completely took their eye off the ball, and Ballymun rolled them over with minimum fuss. And I really wouldn't know what to make of them now, because you're looking at it, even on the hurling side. I see Max there. We were talking about the hurling from their side, that they're still very reliant on the likes of Keeney, Paul Ryan. And then on the football side, you're looking at it and saying they're still bringing Keeney on and, kind of relying on him to pull them out of the fire like he did in the quarterfinal against Ballantyre St. John's. I predicted Fianna would win this, but I predicted Fianna would win this based off the fact that in the last few games that Ballyboden have played, they've gassed towards the end in football and in hurling. Whatever happened the last 10 minutes, they just completely shut down. I mean, you think about the Ballantyre game, they were 10 points up. 4 minutes later, they're 3 points up. So I was thinking, look, Fianna, they're a young side. They got a lot of energy. They got a lot of determination. They're going to kick on in those last 10 minutes and push for home in what has been a very tight game up until that point. But this was just a beatdown. Bowden just didn't show up, and really frustrating way for them to leave the championship.
Yeah, and it was a result that I definitely didn't see coming. I was surprised that, I backed Ballyboden to come through this one just because I thought maybe they'd gotten all these type of performances out of their system finally. Anyway, they beat Ballymun earlier in the year. They looked very good in doing so. They've been bringing through a few more younger players, like you mentioned before. And then just absolutely mental, really. You were saying there, Ross McGarry, I felt wasn't really in the game at all. He was very quiet. And Colin Keeney, to be fair, even when he came off the bench, I actually thought he'd done quite well. He scored a really nice point, and I thought he was getting involved, and he was sort of making things happen. But the big problem for Ballyboden, I felt, was just this running game that they were playing consistently, trying to run it through the middle. They needed to mix it up, I felt. And even as mad as it sounds, bringing Conal Keeney on, do the traditional, stick him up a full forward, throw some long balls in there. Because you've seen even in that Whitehall game when Whitehall were doing that with Owen O'Donnell, it caused a lot of problems. And I just thought for Ballyboden, it was just fair. It was too one-dimensional, and the management, they just didn't make the adequate changes, I felt, to change, to at least make an attempt at coming back in that game, because like I think how they got a couple of points early in the second half, thought Fianna just switched off, as you would. You're 10 points to 1 up at half time. It's sort of a, you know, a situation you probably don't find yourself in too often. But yeah, from a Ballyboden perspective, like to not try something different, I thought was a little bit strange.
Yeah, you're right. Like Fianna had them figured out. Fianna knew what they were coming with. And for Ballyboden to definitely have watched the quarterfinal against Whitehall that Fianna played, and to not take anything from that game, to not say, well, look, what did Whitehall do that caused Fianna a lot of problems? They put, as you mentioned, a lot of direct ball in on O'Donnell, which caused so much problems. And you mean myself and yourself are both saying if Whitehall had been more clinical, it could have been Whitehall in this semi-final against Ballyboden. So the fact that Bowden must have watched that game and just took nothing from it and continued to run into the same wall over and over and over again, persisting with this running game when, you know, the option of Keeney is there on the bench, springing from the bench with all the experience that he has, and he has the gas tank to go a full 60 minutes. He's still in incredible shape. Why would you not try something different? You're 10 points to 0 down. Like, switch it up. Go for something different, because clearly what you're doing now isn't working. And instead, I felt they just allowed Fianna to stay really, really kind of at their own ease, playing their own game, and to be allowed, as you mentioned, to switch off, to be allowed to take their foot off the pedal a little bit. I don't think Fianna would have anticipated that at all. And interestingly enough, like, that could not really help them going into the final. Like, I mean, they didn't really get a test here, like, but I feel like Bowden just kind of rolled over for them. The goal at the end there, like coming towards the end of the game, the goal from David Lacey, I feel like that sealed what was so obvious, that Fianna were clearly the superior team. The goal from Lacey was kind of the icing on the cake. It was the final nail in the coffin for Bowden. But right from the start, I just thought, you know, they got their matchups wrong in the forwards for Fianna. I thought Conor McHugh looked electric again. I think he looks really, really good. And then Fianna got their matchups right on the Bowden forwards, and Bowden just didn't switch up their game at all. And yeah, Fianna, well-deserving winners.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought, as we were saying there, like, fair enough, we can criticise Ballyboden quite heavily, and rightly so, like, given their performance. But at the same time, you have to give big credit for Fianna. Like, I thought they were sloppy enough against Whitehall. I thought throughout large parts of that game, they, you know, in the end sort of scraped over the line, even after getting a player sent off as well. But in this one, fair play to them. Like, Owen Merchant again, outstanding. Conor McHugh, like, I think he's really putting his hand up now to come into the Dublin team. Brian O'Leary was excellent, as you said there. Ali Fitzgerald, you know, looks like a serious find in that team. And again, like, Desi Farrell is an ex-Fianna man. We've seen him give Fianna players a lot of game time down the years. So there's one or two in there that I think, look, obviously with Jack McCaffrey and Paul Mannion coming back in, provided there's no injuries with the two of them, it's going to be even harder to get into the Dublin side next year than maybe what we thought it would have been. But with some of those performances from some of these players, you know, like, there's a potential for them to come in and maybe make some sort of cameo next year.
Yeah, without a doubt, because I mean, you're looking at a Dublin team as well that, like, James McCarthy now is the wrong side of 30. You've got lads there that are moving on a little bit, and right half back, Dublin will miss a lot if McCarthy goes in the next couple of years. Dublin will miss his drive and runs the most, I feel like. And Tom Lahiff does that a lot for Jude's. Ali Fitzgerald does that a lot for Fianna. So those are the lads that are throwing their hands up and saying, like, I can do the role. Even Rory O'Carroll for Kilmacud Crokes has been bursting forward in every game that he's been playing, stuck 2 goals away against Temple Oak. But yeah, I feel like the Dublin team going into next year, for the first time really in quite a few years, I feel like the Dublin team over from, say, 2019 to 2021, I feel like the Dublin team was a little bit predictable going into every game. I don't really know who's going to start for Dublin next year, particularly in the defence. I mean, is Desi going to stick with the likes of Johnny Cooper, Mick Fitzsimons, or is he going to go to, you know, your Andrew McGowans, your Killian O'Shea's that are smashing it with Kilmacud Crokes? Is he going to bring back in Rory O'Carroll? Is Jack McCaffrey going to, you know, is he going to play him in the halfback line, or is he going to try and move him around a little bit? It's just fascinating. I can't wait to see who's going to go where. Is McCarthy going to go back to the halfback line, or is he going to go into midfield? Like, I feel like with this, anyone can get into this side now, because they're all throwing their hands up. They're all playing magnificently, particularly Nafina in this semi-final were outstanding. So a lot of them lads are throwing their hands up. Even on OD, like fantastic on O'Donnell. I thought had a great battle with O'Donnell in the quarterfinal and showed that he can actually go toe to toe with a big full forward, which, you know, has been a question mark about Dublin's defence over the last few years. I just feel like for once it's not that predictable who's going to start for Dublin next year.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's going to make it very interesting from a Dublin fan point of view next year. Just a reminder, we are doing this live, so I suppose if anyone does have any club results at the weekend or club games maybe that you've seen at the weekend, feel free to get the comments in, because obviously we're not going to be able to get through everything. Frank said here, Levy can edge Slot-Neil by a point or two in the semi-final, although we play an awful style of football. I know absolutely nothing about that game whatsoever, but
I think that was the Derry semi-final. Lavy, they're the Downies, I think it's
I think it might be, yeah. But Slot-Neil would obviously be the big favourites there. Like, and to be fair, like I think everyone's kind of looking towards a Slot-Neil, Whitey Graham's Glen final. I think which would be an absolute cracker. Yeah, cracker in the Derry Football Championship. Porrick says here, Gauna to win Cavan Senior Football Championship. Gauna first Cavan club team to win match on RT Live TV. Nice feat for Gauna players. Really, are they the first team to ever win? Cavan teams to ever win a game on RTE? Well, that's quite crazy there. And yeah, I was seeing that Gauna, they haven't won a county title since 2002, and Killygarry, I think it is, who beat Rammer United in the semi-finals. Rammer United were the champions last year, so they were beaten in the last hour or something. Killygarry have never won it. Gauna haven't won it since 2002. Like, I suppose that shows the beauty of the club championships, really. Like, seeing there, you've Shinrone and Offaly, who won a very first senior hurling championship as well today. Like, I mean, that's the beauty of the club championships. The fact that you can get these teams, it's sort of, I suppose, come out of nowhere, really. Maybe within the club and within the squad, they believe they can actually go on and win it. And, you know, fair enough. But, like, for ourselves as spectators, like, it's sort of mad when you see some of these stories coming in.
Oh, yeah, without doubt. I mean, my personal favourite is the Mullinock beating Kilmacud Crokes. Like, that was the David of all Goliath. Like, that was the biggest David versus Goliath I've ever seen. And for Mullinock to beat them that day was just crazy. Like, a Kilmacud Crokes team that their club is bigger than most counties in Ireland. Like, the amount of members that Kilmacud have, the area that they're in, their senior B team, I swear, is in Division 2 or Division 3 in Dublin. Like, it's crazy how strong they are. And Mullinock just had their day in the sun. Like, it's amazing, the club championship, the results that it throws up. And yeah, Gauna first Cavan team to win on RTE. Like, that's some, I'm sure we'll come back to the game later. Like, there were some cracking goals in that game. My favourite one was Conor Casey's one. That was outrageous. I've seen that going around now on social media. But yeah, some fee for them.
Yeah, absolutely. We will discuss that maybe a little bit briefly later on. But the other semi-final in Dublin was Kilmacud Crokes, who in the end get the better of Thomas Davis. In the end, a comprehensive result in the end in many ways. I mean, it was 12 points to 1-3, a 6-point victory in the end for Kilmacud Crokes. Thomas Davis starting the better, scoring 1-1 early on. But I suppose Kilmacud Crokes doing what they did best, even without Paul Mannion, and that's finding a way to win. Again, I don't think they were at their absolute best, but then again, I don't think they needed to be.
Yeah, this was a real professional performance by Kilmacud Crokes. This was a real, like, they just shut Thomas Davis down. I mean, Thomas Davis to hit 1-1, as you mentioned, in the first few minutes, Fionn Murray hitting that goal after 4 minutes, was it 7 minutes? And then for the rest of the game to only get 2 points, that just shows how good Kilmacud are. Like, their defenders are just magnificent. Rory O'Carr, I've banged on about them multiple times now. They're just fantastic. They're such a good unit, and then individually as well, they're superb. And then the subs that they can bring on, the likes of Keane O'Connor, like, they're so strong. And for Thomas Davis, I was actually predicting Thomas Davis to give Crokes one hell of a game, because I was looking at it saying, like, Thomas Davis have pretty much the exact same team in the league as they have in the championship. They got to the final in 2019, and they took out Kilmacud Crokes en route to that final in 2019 when Crokes were the defending champions. People forget that. I was saying, look, they have the likes of Adam Waddick, they have the likes of Keane Murphy, who do have Dublin experience. Fionn Murray as well was on the under-20s. I was saying, look, like, I think they're going to cause them more problems than people think. And when the early goal went in, I was thinking, like, God, like, Crokes are in a game here. And then they just shut them down. They just shut them down. Shane Walsh kicking 8 points as well. I mean, we knew he would have a huge say on who was going to win the club championship. And, like, Mannion's fitness obviously is absolutely imperative, but Crokes have probably one of, if not the best forward in the country right now, right up there with David Clifford, in my opinion. So, like, to have Mannion and Walsh potentially in that final is just unthinkable for a club team. But yeah, I think he was absolutely outstanding, kicking 8 points against the Thomas Davis defence, which is magnificent. I mean, you've got Gavin Carruth there at the back, who absolutely shut down Kieran Kilkenny in the quarterfinal. Like, for Walsh to perform like he did with all the eyeballs on him, and for Crokes to perform like they did with all the eyeballs on them, fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it was a brilliant performance again from Shane Walsh. I mean, I think it was a 10 to 12 minute spell where I think he hit 4 or 5 frees all in a row. I thought some of them were quite soft now, to be fair, but at the same time, like, he was just nailing every single one of them, and it was just it was brilliant to see, really. Like I feel like Shane Walsh in this Kilmacud Crokes team is nearly like a cheat code or something. Like, it shouldn't even be legal, to be honest with you. But look, I mean, they were absolutely brilliant. And even without Paul Mannion, like, the crazy thing is, I obviously knew Paul Mannion wasn't playing because he was injured, and like I knew that going into the game. But after about 40 or 50 minutes, I'd completely forgot that they didn't even have him in the team. And that just goes to show just how good that they are. Like, and I've seen there, like, that Paul Mannion's going to be missing, I think, for the county final versus Na Fianna, which is a huge blow. But at the same time, like, Kilmacud Crokes are still going to be going in as favourites, even without one of the best forwards in the country. That just shows how good they are.
Oh yeah, they're just ridiculously talented up there. You've got the likes of Darren Mullen, Hugh Kenny, Shane Cunningham, like, people that didn't even start the other day. Like, as you mentioned, Mannion, Shane Horan plays for Offaly senior footballers. He didn't start. Like, the level of talent that they have was just ridiculous. So to say that even without Paul Mannion, you could probably say that they have the best forward line in the Dublin Club Championship. Like, I mean, like, who's got a better forward line than that front six that went up against Thomas Davis there? Like, Na Fianna obviously have plenty of talent that has come through the Dublin under-21s and so on, but they haven't proven themselves yet really at senior, I would say. Like, Aaron Byrne definitely has made a stamp with the Dublin seniors, but the likes of McHugh, James Doran, like, they've been coming for a good few years. McHugh's been in and out of the Dublin seniors. James Doran and Brian O'Leary, like, we know all about their pedigree at the underage sides. They'll probably come good into the Dublin seniors over the next few years. But Crokes right now, if you're talking experience, been there, done that, like, it would be hard to find a better forward line in the Dublin Club Championship, even without Paul Mannion, which is bizarre to be able to say.
Yeah, I mean, it is crazy. Like, when you look at the talent levels that they have, and even Darren Mullen as well, I've been saying should, get another crack at the Dublin team. I mean, there's a lot of players definitely putting their hands up over the last couple of weekends, which is great to see. In fairness, who would you be tipping then for that final at this moment in time? Like, I think Na Fianna will definitely run them close and push them. But it's a hard one, really, like, to see how Na Fianna can stop Kilmacud Crokes, even without Paul Mannion. Look, maybe he might, come off the bench or something. Maybe he might, be fit potentially by the time the game comes around. But I did see the manager's chat after the game, Robbie Brennan, and he was saying that he's most likely not going to be there. So, I mean, but who would you be tipping at this moment in time for that final?
Kilmacud Crokes, I think, but very, very close. And I could definitely see Na Fianna turning them over, because Na Fianna have so much hurt by what Crokes did to them in the Dublin hurling final last year, like leaving it to the last puck of the game to deny them winning the championship. So they'll have all the motivation in the world to beat Crokes. But in my mind, with Shane Walsh, with Darren Mullen, with Hugh Kenny, like, Na Fianna, as I mentioned, the defenders, I think the matchups are going to be so interesting. Will they put Owen O'D on Shane Walsh? They probably will. But then if Mannion, like, that could be a decoy. How many times over the years have we seen managers say, "Oh, he's not fit. Oh, he's out," and then 5 minutes before throw in, he's back fully fit and he's running around, and then the opposing manager has to pick someone last minute to mark him. If I was the Fianna coaches, I'd be 100% sitting down and picking someone to mark Paul Mannion just in case he is there. And if it's not OD because he's on Shane Walsh, well, then have someone ready. Have a Johnny Cooper, have an Owen Merchant ready to just pick up Mannion, because like you can't assume that he's not going to play. There's a lot of motivation for Crokes in saying, "Oh yeah, he's not going to play," and so that Fianna take their eye off the ball with that one. But I think Crokes can shut down Fianna's threats better than Fianna can shut down Crokes' threats, if that makes sense. I feel like Crokes have Andrew McGowan, Rory O'Carroll, Killian O'Shea. They can throw them onto Fianna's danger men that have done the damage. And Crokes have already flexed that they can kick a ridiculous tally against Temple Oak. And the scores were coming from all over the pitch that day. So I feel like just because Crokes, again, have a little bit more experience and they got hurt so badly last year falling at the final hurdle, I'm going to go with Crokes by the bare minimum, 1 or 2 points.
Yeah, I'd have to lean towards that at this moment in time as well. And I think another thing we're pointing out is Fianna did give away plenty of frees against Ballyboden that were in shooting positions, scoring positions, but for whatever reason, as we were saying earlier, Ballyboden just weren't taking the opportunities, weren't taking the shots on. I think against Kilmacud Crokes, it's a completely different story when you've got a player like Shane Walsh. Porrick was also saying here, Shane Walsh can do what brilliant Dermot Connolly could not do, take frees off the ground. Fair enough. I mean, I'm pretty sure he could do. I've seen Dermot Connolly plenty of times take frees, but I mean, the thing is, he didn't have to, because I mean, you had Dean Rock and loads of other players. Do you know what I mean? But, yeah, Cluxton as well. Bit of a cheap shot there at good old Dermot Connolly, but there's no reason whatsoever.
Dermot Connolly in his prime could probably overhead kick the ball over the bar whenever he wanted to. Talent wise, I've never seen someone as good as him. Right up there with David Clifford and Colin Cooper. I think in terms of talent, maybe okay. Don't take the head off me. I'm not comparing, saying he's better than the Gooch or whatever, but in terms of just pure talent, I remember that. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember the 2017 Vincents when they won the Dublin Club Championship and Connolly was centre forward? Do you remember that goal he got? I think it was against Sylvester's, where he ran through, someone hand passed him the ball back and he just volleyed it into the back of the net without
he just hit
stride. That was just ridiculous. I was like, what even is this guy? That was the most outrageous goal I've seen. So yeah, maybe he can kick frees off the ground. Who knows?
Who knows? I mean, I'm pretty sure I've